Let's go to San Jose State. They just hired Ken. Listen to this. Ken Niumatalolo. That is his name. Ken Niumatalolo. If you remember, he was a coach at Navy for a number of very, very successful years for the midshipmen.
Oh,
So
midshipman. Tough job to
it,
win. Tough job to win.
very,
Very
very
impressive
tough.
plays.
Two very, very different jobs, though, San Jose State and Navy.
But
Now,
but similar in the fact that they're both tough jobs. San Jose State
yes,
is still a pretty tough job, which is why I think he's the right guy for it. Sorry.
historically,
Yeah.
historically, it is a tough job. I believe that you can win there.
Yeah.
And Brent Brennan, to some degree, showed that you could be successful there. Now, that is a program. San Jose State does not have a large athletic budget at all. It does not. But you got a great geography. These last couple of years, you've had some nice momentum. You've brought in some good quarterbacks the last couple of years. It should be interesting. So before San Jose State, Niumatalolo was at UCLA, just as like a tight ends coach, I believe. Then before that, of course, he was at Navy for, a number of years. We're talking like 3 seasons where he had over 10 wins at Navy. He went to 11 different bowl games, 6 wins in those bowl games. Incredibly successful. Yeah, like, did he have a tough time winning down the stretch there? Yes. Yes. But what NIL does Navy have to offer? What elite wide receivers are going to want to come play for Navy? It's just, it's such a difficult job. It is such a difficult job coaching at a military school, which what Troy Calhoun does. It's unbelievable. We were talking about before the show. How many Mountain West coaches got fired or left this past offseason?
I believe there's going to be what, six? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 current packed Mountain West coaches that will be changes in this offseason. We have done 6 videos, and then also Fresno State still has to hire a coach. That's 7. If you want to throw Oregon State in the mix, that's 8. 8. That's over a half of the Mountain West, and an already crazy and wild Mountain West, which we loved covering this year. A lot of turnover, a lot of change there. Someone's going to rise to the top. You mentioned it with Sunbelt, right? With James Madison and Troy and South Alabama now changing coaches, right? Someone's going to rise to the top. Is it going to be Barry Odom, UNLV, Ken Niumatalolo, or anyone else in the conference there? I think it's very exciting for a lot of these fan bases.
Absolutely. And Niumatalolo, he's a Hawaiian, Polynesian. He has these West Coast ties. So he knows what it's like. He was just coaching at UCLA, right? He knows what it's like to coach in the state of California. He was at UNLV for a couple of years. He wins, right? And you're probably wondering, is he going to be running the same triple option offense that we're used to running at Navy? No. CD, I'll let you get into that a little bit. What is this offense going to look like?
Yeah, so it's going to be the Spread and Shed. By the way, fantastic name. That's done by the OC will be Craig Stutzman. Craig Stutzman's a guy that's had a lot of success wherever he's been. Most
A
recently at
ton.
Texas State. Developed some damn good quarterbacks. The resurgence of TJ Finley himself, a guy we love talking about on the podcast this year. He's going to do great things, I believe, at Western Kentucky this year. Um, yeah, he's a guy. They passed the ball 429 times. It's going to be much different than Navy's triple option spread, and even some of Brent Brennan's stuff that he ran at San Jose State. He mentioned why he's not running it is because, first of all, the Bay Area, right, where San Jose State is, and California itself, recruiting resources and hotbed is for a ton of good quarterbacks and strong skill position players, right? That is exactly what you want, and the awareness of your coach. So not, hey, I'm not gonna put my scheme and implement my scheme on this program. I'm gonna see what this program needs at the time right now. It's fantastic. It is fantastic. Their former OC is going to be returning as their wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, helping on with that. He's bringing over some Navy ties, right? So the slot backs coach was similar to the running back and the wing back in the Navy triple option offense. He'll coach running backs. That's Marcus Thomas, and the former fullbacks coach for Navy, the guy that just gets the fullback dive every time in the triple option play. That Mike Judge, he'll be the tight ends coach, right? Younger brother of Craig Stutzman, right? Billy Ray Stutzman, and the connection there between Craig Stutzman and Coach Ken, was Billy Ray Stutzman. Follow me here. The brother of Craig Stutzman, right, was a former assistant of Coach Ken at Navy. He's also going to be an analyst there to bring some continuity with the Navy staff. with Texas State and Craig and all that other good stuff offensively. It's a pretty exciting staff for what the resources he has there, but all of his connections you mentioned on the West Coast and in recruiting in general, and also in Navy and college football world is paying off, and that's why you hire a guy like Ken.
So we talk about what are the expectations? What are the expectations of the San Jose State Spartans? In the past, it had been what 7 wins would be like an amazing season, at least in the last like 15 years. I don't have the past season results in front of me, but and when they went 7-1 and won the Mountain West champion, like that was their only conference championship in that program's history. And it was during COVID. So to say this program has been lacking success would be pretty accurate. But I think right now, with the state of the program where it's at, I I think you can expect as a fan to compete to potentially make a bowl game every year, right? Like hovering around that 5, 6 wins every single year. And occasionally you get a quarterback, you win a couple games that you shouldn't, and all of a sudden, in some weird, crazy tiebreaker that actually screwed them this past year, you might end up in the Mountain West championship game, and then you have a chance. Then you have a chance. I don't anticipate a team like San Jose State making the playoffs anytime soon or competing for that G5 spot. But man, I think there's potential with this team. And I like Coach Ken. So I don't know. What are your expectations for this team? Not necessarily this team, but like this program for the future with Ken.
Yeah, to be honest, and let's be real, like a place like San Jose State, like your out of conference matters in setting your expectations for that season, right? We talked about San Jose State this year. We loved their surgeons in October, November. They had a brutal gauntlet of September. Not only did they open week 0 against Caleb Williams and the reigning Heisman Trophy winner at USC, they also had to play Oregon State and Toledo, one of the best G5 programs there is out there. Toledo, obviously very talented in their own right. They almost went to Toledo and almost won there with Brent Brennan and staff. I do think it matters. In 2024, it opens up a little bit more, right? You have Sacramento State and you have Kennesaw State. By the way, newly FBS Kennesaw State, get used to that in the Conference USA. And then also Washington State and Stanford, two teams who are not obviously uber talented, but still Power 5 teams or former Power 5 teams in their own right. But again, not impossible to win, but also like you probably won't be favored in those games. There's unique challenges at San Jose State, but there was also unique challenges with Navy and with Coach Ken there and all the success he had. In terms of the program win, sorry to finally get to that answer. Yeah, I think 4 to 5 is probably my expectation for them. Wins depending on your
That's
out of conference
understandable.
schedule. I think leaned more over to 5 in terms of like what I expect. If he is winning at an average of 5 wins per year, let's say he's making a bowl game every other year or every third year, right? 2 out of 3 years, 2 out of 4 years. I think it's gonna have to save his job and hopefully popping with a good out of conference schedule. And then also there is that every time we do a G5 program, right? In this coaching carousel, I'm going to continue to bring up there is an automatic bid for G5 teams, right? If you get the right out conference schedule and you beat one good-ish Power 5 team, and then you run a table in your conference, you have a real shot at making that. Now, I don't want to put on too unfair, lofty expectations for Niumatalolo and staff here at San Jose State, but I do think like it's something to mention. Not that it's an expectation, or I would be shocked if it happened. Very happy for the program and the Trojans, but yeah, I do think I'm sorry, the Spartans.
Spartans.
I'm so sorry. My apologies there. Definitely not the Trojans, the Spartans. And yeah, it hasn't been great. Let's be honest here. And even Brent Brennan, it took him multiple years to get to that 5 to 7 win range. And as soon as he won 7 games multiple times in a row, some Power 5 team was calling his name, and because they know how impressive that was. And obviously, he built the staff, he built the program into a better spot than when he got it, which is good. And I think it's why they were able to go out and make a hire like this. That was actually pretty impressive. And I think a lot of people around in college football circles are pretty impressed with this hire. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna say I'll finish at 5. I'll finish at 5, 5.5.
Okay. I give this hire a B minus. And honestly, I think it would be lower than that if he didn't. I kind of have the bias of, him hiring Craig Stutzman. I I just feel weird. Like he's never been in charge of a program like this. He won a lot of games at Navy, and that's a tough program to win at. But my thought is that is a wildly different program to run and operate than this one. Wildly different. You just do things different. You do everything differently. So I think he knows how to work in a larger program, right? He went to UCLA for a year. I think it'll just be a little different. So we'll see like how that adjustment can happen. But I think Craig Stutzman could be a guy, and he might save Niumatalolo's butt a couple times these next couple years until he ends up getting a bigger job somewhere else. So, but it'll be interesting. So, by the way, when I say B minus, like again, A, exceeding expectations, B, meeting expectations, C, not meeting expectations. Tell me that like he's pretty much right there, going to be meeting expectations. But we'll see. Like Brent Brennan did a fantastic job with that program. He was barely scraping 7 wins. So let's just relax and enjoy the ride.
If he performs how you think he is in that B minus grade, right, where he's barely under expectations or not meeting them every single year, do you think his job is safe there?
No, even though it should be, even though it should be, because meeting expectations does not mean like you have to, in order for an AD to justify and donors to donate to certain programs, right? You have to sometimes make changes that you don't want to make, you
To
know,
give maybe a false sense of hope, you know?
to get false sense of hope so donors can pony up and you can say, hey, look, we're doing all these things. Look at this. We're investing in the football program. Please donate to us. Like this is how we keep this thing alive. It'll be interesting. I think if he's not making bowl games consistently, I think he will not stay as that coach because I think the athletic department wants the expectation to be to make bowl games, and I don't blame them for wanting that. Don't blame them one bit.
Yeah, I'll spin it in a little positive direction for our Spartan fans here. I do give this a B plus. I think he will meet expectations and exceed them more often than not. And I do think, um, he will 6 wins, bowl game type thing. I think that's going to be crucial for him and the success. I mentioned maybe the changing of the out of conference schedules and maybe the Mountain West changing a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen there? Yeah, I think he can really do it. And I go back to his ties at Navy, right? And I know you said yes, he hasn't done it at a place like San Jose State, but I also say like Navy is a one or two, one or three kind of jobs, like the other Air Force or the other armed forces academies. So it's tough. It's really tough. And he won 11 games twice there with two different, entirely different rosters. That was super impressive in an American conference that I get is not the most, you know, fantastic, right? But it was pretty okay. You had Temple, who was pretty good back then. South Florida, Houston was really good. Back in those, I believe that was, Tom Herman's heights there at Houston. So I don't think it's pretty crazy to say and to be impressed with what he did there at Navy, and then also his ties to the West Coast. He grew up, graduated at University of Hawaii, played quarterback there, coached there for numerous years. Yes, they were back in the WAC back then, not in the Mountain West, but still, that I think that fact remains the same, and that still stands for my point in case here. Yeah, he's the all-time winningest coach in Navy, and to me, that's enough said. I do give it a little bit of boost because of how late it was in the cycle. If you're San Jose State, you survived most of the coaching cycle. You got through mid-August or mid-January, and you were feeling pretty darn good that you kept the guy like Brent Brennan for another year to build that program and continue to improve year by year, with his win totals and the success he's had in Mountain West. And then obviously Arizona comes and plucks him after the whole chain reaction of Saban getting retired, and obviously DeBoer going to Bama, and Arizona's coach going to Washington, Jed Fish, and obviously Brennan going over to Arizona. So yeah, I do think in a tough spot, in a pinch, they found a guy right across the street, and down in, I guess not that across the street, down in LA, being a guy for there, spent the year at UCLA, who's got a ton of connections and respect and name and in the game. And yeah, yes, you're losing some transfers in the short term, right? But you're also Nick Nash. all conference Mountain West guy returned for you, withdrew from the portal. I'm sure he was excited about Sutsman and the new offense coming in and all the good stuff that Coach Ken is implementing there. So yeah, I think B plus is pretty fair. And I have a little bit more encouragement, I guess, than Matthew does. But regardless, it was an awesome year for them. And the Mountain West is going to be pretty hectic no matter what. He has a 5-year deal for him. So we'll see what he can get done.